Okay, so we're going to now talk about Mustafa Sharif. He had a camp with two boys in it, or two groups of boys. There was more than two, as you can see in the photographs. They're not the most amazing pictures, but they are from his experiment. It's called the Robbers Cave experiment. The camp was named Robbers Cave. And on the right-hand side here, you have Rattlers. That was the name of that boys' camp, and they were on one side of the camp. They would have evening campfires and they would curse and they felt tough. And on the left-hand side, you have another camp of boys called the Eagles. They were proud and they did obstacle courses and they worked together. These two groups of boys did not know that one another existed at the camp. So on one side of the camp were the Rattlers, on the other side of the camp were the Eagles. They each ate separate meals in the cafeteria, and they each slept in separate cabins. During the second week of camp, Mustafa Sharif, he's a Turkish psychologist, he wanted to see what would happen when the boys were mixed together and how many of them would befriend the outgroups. Well, as you can guess, there was a lot of in-group bias, or kids preferred to be sitting near their own groups, and there was probably also some out-group homogeneity in that they saw the other group as all the same. Here is a picture of the boys mixed together. In the first picture, they were watching fireworks, but they're seated separately. The Rattlers are in the foreground and the Eagles are in the background. Just like at a party when people who don't like each other might sit separately, that's what happened. Even though the boys were mixed together in the second week of camp, Rattlers and Eagles, they still segregated themselves or separated themselves. Even in the mess hall or the cafeteria, there were garbage fights between the groups. So number 9 in your notes is called the contact hypothesis. This is a theory that just being around outgroups or being face to face with people who are different from you will help you get along. But the reality is, as Mustafa Sharif found out, that it is not enough. Eating together, watching a movie together is not enough to cooperate. Again, the contact hypothesis says that if you put outgroups face to face, they'll get along. But it just doesn't work like that. So these are Mustafa Sharif's pictures without superordinate goals, and that's the next word we're going to talk about. What does bring groups together? Number 10, superordinate goals. That is a common objective or project to work on. That is what often helps outgroups to cooperate. The two things that Mustafa Sharif had the boys do was number 1, fix a water tank, as you see pictured here. There was a clog or something went wrong, and the boys had to work together to fix it so that the camp would have water. As you can see, both of the groups are climbing up to see if the water tank is empty, and they cluster around trying to clear the faucet. Another experiment that Mustafa Sharif tried was that the camp truck broke down a few miles outside of the camp, and the boys had to pull the truck together. It was projects and objectives like these where the boys had to come together and solve a problem. That is what really helped them learn to cooperate and get along. As you can see in these graphs by Sharif, the Rattlers in the beginning of the project, or the first phase, were definitely friends, had more friends that were from the Rattlers group. Although, after the dotted line, after the superordinate goals, they were much more likely to call some of the Eagles their friends. And in the second half of this picture, where it says Eagles at the top, again, in the beginning stage of the camp, they were more likely to say they were friends with Eagles, but after the superordinate goal, a few of them, more than before, said that they were friends with Rattlers. So superordinate goals really do help people make relationships and cooperate with outgroups. Number 11 is ethnocentrism, when you think your ethnic group or culture is better than or superior to others. I think food is a good way to demonstrate ethnocentrism. We always think our food is normal and other people's food is not. This is balut, which is a duck embryo. Now, normally, eating an egg does not involve an embryo. It's just an ovum, but in some cultures they may eat more. And I think it's very interesting how we get grossed out by other cultures. I know even in my own Italian family, they eat a cheese with live worms in it, and I get really grossed out, yet I have no qualms eating Doritos, which really, what is in a Dorito? I don't even think there's real cheese in it. The natural live worm is probably more nutritious than the Doritos. Anyway, we often think our way, our ethnic group is better than other people's. And the word ethnocentrism is implying, right, your ethnicity is the center. Okay, we'll stop there. Any other notes you should have, and we'll use these to apply to the film.